Okay, so right now we're about to get started on the bouquet sessions. We're going to start with the bridal bouquet and the bridesmaids bouquets. So earlier on I was talking about the recipe building and we started pulling for a greenery bouquet. There is 10 stems of silver dollar eucalyptus, and I showcased on how I could cut that up and use different pieces of the same stem to count as a single stem. I do want to add a little bit more texture, so I'm also going to add in some spiral eucalyptus or some baby euc. So I love this stuff. It smells amazing. It dries well, but we're going to also put that in the bouquet too. A couple other things that I have that are from the kit from 50flowers.com with all these amazing flowers as well from there is we have our Oasis bunch cutters, and so they're good for cutting woody stems, they're good for cutting delicate stems, a little bit of everything. Again, make sure they're super clean. We also have binding wire, and we also have a double-faced satin ribbon. What that means is that it is satin on both sides. So regardless of what side you use it on, you're gonna get that satin. And then we've also got some corsage pins. So I use these to make sure that the closure point of the ribbon is seamless, because you don't want to see any mechanics. That's super important that you cover all your mechanics. One additional thing that I love is this waterproof tape that Oasis also makes. And so I will typically wrap my bouquets in this, but I've also seen florists use binding wire. I've seen florists use zip ties. So whatever is easier for you, this just happens to be easier for me. It's perforated, so whenever I tear it, it's easy. So let's go ahead and let's start with, we will get our tape prepped up, which is finding the end as easy as I said it was. Finding the end of where it starts. And then we'll just have a piece ready to go. So sometimes if you feel like you've made the bouquet, you tied it off because your hands need a break, you can also have a couple pieces ready. And then, oh, I forgot, I also have a vase with water. I get these from the Dollar Tree. So they're 7-inch cylinder vase. They make travel with the bouquets super easy. For this one, like I said, since we've already pulled some of it, I like to lay out the stems. And I make sure that there's no foliage where I'm gonna be holding the stem. That is super important, because then otherwise you're gonna have a big bulky area where your bridesmaids are trying to hold it. So we're gonna kind of lay all those out. I am gonna show you how to pick your piece, of your spiral euc that you want. So I look for good breaks. We're going to cut it. And this can get a lot of sap on your hands. So if you actually take it the opposite way of how you need it cleaned and you pull it, the leaves come off really easily. If you try to pull it down that way, a lot of times they're not gonna come off as easy. And so we've got 3 stems of the spiral euc for texture. And then we have about 10 stems of the silver dollar eucalyptus. Again, we've saved all these little pieces and we'll use those in the next series or session. So I like to start with the shape, trying to figure out what shape I want. And I already know that I want a rounded shape, but still organic. So with this, I make sure that I'm not that I'm spiraling my stems and that I am not crossing them over. So crossing them over would be like bringing this other one and making an X. I want to take it behind so that we are not going to break the stems, because whenever you break the stems, your flowers aren't going to live. Even though we're doing all greenery, it's pretty hardy. You still want to make sure that you're doing proper care and that you just have that technique down. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna start with all the silver dollar. We're just going to cross the stems. And again, just kind of making my shape. So I hold my hand kind of in a little C or an O, just very, very loosely. And make sure that the flowers and the greenery are at the base of your fingers. So tucking it in, see how we do not have any foliage below our fingers? That's super important, especially when you go to tie off. And we're wanting to make sure we're round, so you can turn it as you're designing on it, or with it. And now these are for bridesmaids, so I might say like, okay, I want to keep it nice and flowy, or maybe that's too much, you know, because we want to make sure that the bridesmaid isn't as big as the bride, correct? So we cut a little bit out of it, kind of scale it back a little bit, but we're going to keep those pieces because we can use those in other places. So they're still good greenery, but again, maximizing your use, right? We have this big piece of spiral uke that we're going to tuck down in. We have a little broken piece, so we're going to cut that out. Put those to the side. Again, just kind of designing in the round. And you can choose to make it as full or as simple as you want. You know, the bridesmaids, we typically keep a little bit more simple, and we do a lot more for the bride. So again, up to you. But all of this foliage is from the DIY greenery pack from 50flowers.com. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out on that. But we also, the last piece is taking the tape and wrapping it around all of the stems. So just make sure it's nice and secure. This is waterproof tape. It sticks best if you put tape to tape instead of tape on the end piece on the stems. And then I like to make sure I have a nice clean cut on all of my stems. And then I will wrap on the day of the wedding, so that way the water does not get into the ribbon and doesn't get all nasty and yucky. Thank you.